A while ago, I had made a video where I was like reorganizing my freezer, and some of y'all were saying you would like to see a tour of my freezers. I have quite a few, and I'll tell you why later, and also my long-term pantry. So that's what this video is about. Now, I have an upstairs pantry, like a smaller one upstairs, and of course food in my cupboards. I'm not going over that. That's just more your normal cooking things that most people have in the house. What I really want to talk about is more my long-term food storage. I think it's been about a year ago now that I started actually putting more thought into my long-term pantry and buying more foods to have more foods on hand for multiple reasons. And I've been really enjoying it, and I'm going to share those reasons with you. And then at the end, we'll take a tour and I'll just kind of show you what we have here. If you're new here, my name is Janine. I'm a Mennonite mom of one little boy. He is almost 5, and we're expecting our second child the beginning of May. So the countdown's getting lower. We are in the single digits, and I'm so ready to be over it because it just feels like I'm lumbering through life and everything is becoming difficult to reach and to grab and to sleep and to everything, but it has been going super well, so super happy for that. All right, first off, as a Mennonite, it kind of is actually in our tradition to have a lot of canned goods in stock. Like we tend to have more gardens, do canning, not all of us, it's kind of stereotypical. It was something that I did sort of half-heartedly. I like certain things. I didn't do the whole plethora of items. But since 2020 and everything that has happened since then, I began to realize that there is great wisdom in actually preparing more food to have just on hand to eat for health reasons first off, and just to have food on hand where you're a little bit more self-reliant. Now we all know that the past few years have been just completely upside down. It just seems like there's nothing stable or normal. The world events, the economy, just everything. It makes us realize how fragile life is. We started to see a little bit more how reliant we are on the supply chain. And when one thing gets shut down or another, it affects everything, and soon there's backlog, and we saw tons of empty shelves. Suddenly not everything is available like it used to be. And it's a little bit of a wake-up call. It's like, I shouldn't be quite so reliant on just running to town and getting what I need. Now this video is not about being just crazy fanatic and being one of these like doomsday preppers, but I do think there is a healthy balance in realizing some of the things that could possibly happen and being a little bit prepared for it. And I do enjoy watching prepper videos and what people are like having on hand in case of an emergency, that type of thing. But I have noticed almost this fear and this anxiety and almost this hoarder mentality that just is a desperate, and the more you stock up, the more you need, and the more you fear, and the more, that's kind of that side of the picture, and that's not at all what this is about. Jesus tells us so much that we're not supposed to be anxious for anything. And it says not to take thought for tomorrow will take care of itself. And that God, if He clothes and feeds the sparrow, He will take care of us as well. And I think the concept of those verses are, don't worry about it, don't fret about it, don't be anxious about it. There's many verses in the Bible that tell us to take care of our household, to prepare. You know, you think about the virgins, and that's talking about the bridegroom coming. We're talking about the end of the world and preparing, but there's other illustrations you can take out of that. Were the virgins that had their oil ready and they made sure they had enough oil to get through the night. And there was the other 5 that were careless and their lights went out during the night, and then here came the bridegroom and they weren't ready. There's other verses that say that the person that doesn't look out for his household or provide for his house isn't being true to his faith, and he's worse than an infidel. You have verses in Proverbs where you see the Proverbs 31 where it talks about the virtuous woman and how she looks to the ways of her house, and she's not scared of winter because she has her household clothed and everything is ready, and she's taking care of, and she's preparing. And so there's a lot of verses that talk about you shouldn't be anxious, but you should also be wise, and you should be, looking to the ways of your house and providing. That was a little bit of a rant. I wasn't meaning to go so far into it. Anyway, all that to say, so much in life is such a balance between one extreme and the other, and if you just kind of pull them together and get kind of a mindset in the middle, usually that's the better place to be. And that's where I strive to be at, because I know what it's like to become really anxious and worried, especially when you have little children. You're like, I want to take care of my children, I want to make sure everything's going to be okay. But you can just dig yourself into a hole. And since when has worry and anxiety ever profited us anything? Oftentimes the things we're so scared of never come to pass anyway. So the 3 reasons that I like to have more food on hand than just say like my weekly groceries or whatever is, 1, it's so convenient. Let's just say you have last minute people come over. I've learned that I have more things on hand. I'm not quite as quick to panic and can maybe pull something together, and I'm still working on that. It's like baby steps. I want to learn how to have quick, easy recipes and certain ingredients always on hand that I can throw something together and be hospitable, because it's one of my greatest weaknesses. Because food prep is not my first love, and it kind of terrifies me, to be honest. Secondly is being more self-reliant. With all the things going on, it's just nice to have food available that could feed you for a month or 2 or 3 or 4. If suddenly things would go kaput and whatever catastrophe, whether it's weather, whether it's war, whether it's economic issues, we see what's happening in Russia and Ukraine right now. We thought that 2020 was about the worst that could happen, and then suddenly there's this war going on that's affecting all of the world. And if you haven't watched my other video, my heart really, really goes out to the people in both Ukraine and Russia, because I think there's so many Russians that are not on board with this whole thing. Anyway, we'll leave it at that, but my thoughts and prayers are with the people over there. So life is so uncertain, and the blessings we have today might not be here tomorrow. And it's not something to worry about. It's just something that I think is sometimes good to keep in mind, because it makes us so much more thankful for what we have right now. And it's something I try to keep in mind as well. But back to my point number 2. Yes, if anything were to happen, you have enough to keep your family going for a while, hopefully. Number 3 kind of goes along with that, but we have seen how inflation has hit this country since all of this stuff has been happening. And it just seems to be getting worse now, especially since gas prices are going to go up. Almost every time you go to gas, it's much higher again, and it's almost costing $100 to fill up a tank of gas. It's crazy. And that's just gonna affect everything. So if you're grocery shopping and you are able to pick up a few extra things, now you're kind of hedging against, you know, another month or 2. It might be how much more expensive. So in some ways you're kind of saving. Possibly, if that happens, if it keeps getting worse and worse. So those are kind of the 3 reasons that I enjoy having more food on hand. Hopefully that gives a good preface to all this. And there's one more thing I quickly wanted to say before we go into it. We can't let worry of what could happen consume us. This is where trust comes in. I think we do our best, but don't let these things consume us, and then we just trust God for the rest. Because in all honesty, you can do your absolute best to prep for everything. I mean, you could have food for 5 years if you wanted. And one tornado could come through and just take it all away. Or people could come and just take it from you, and you'd be left with nothing. There's so many things that are uncertain about life, and we just have to live one day at a time, be thankful for what we have, try to prepare for the hard times, and know that nothing is guaranteed, and that we just trust God. And that is so much more of a peace than trying to take everything into our own hands and control everything. And I have that tendency to try to just, I have to be ready, I have to be ready, I have to be ready. So let's go into it. When I had done my freezer organization, I wasn't planning to include this one, but I will really quickly. I used little baskets and labeled them, and I really, really liked it, and I've been kind of doing it throughout all my freezer systems. I have like 2 veggie bins, a bin for fruit, and a bin for meat. It's just been so much nicer keeping track of all that. So if you want to see that organization video, I'll try to have it linked below or up here somewhere. Now let's go on to freezer number 2. A quick break to thank today's sponsor, which is a busy mama's best friend, and yes, you guessed it, it's Green Chef. If you've been around here for a bit, you know I love working with this brand. So if you don't know what Green Chef is a CCOF certified organic company with options for every lifestyle. You can get like keto plus paleo, vegan, gluten-free, vegetarian, fast and fit, and Mediterranean meals, and they're delivered right to your doorstep, which makes it so handy. These meals are pre-packaged and your ingredients are pre-measured, so it's easy to quickly throw the recipe together, and it saves you so much time with both planning, grocery shopping, and prepping. Green Chef also gives you the choice to switch your options whenever you'd like to try something new, and they change it up weekly, so you have a plethora of options to choose from for your meals. My favorite thing about Green Chef is the easy, quick convenience, especially when you're so busy, but yet you're not sacrificing on quality or deliciousness. Deliciousness. Is that a word? Deliciousness?
No.
It's not a word, no. But I like it. So I'll tell you, some of the tastiest meals I've eaten at home have been from Green Chef. I think Green Chef is perfect for those that are so busy that they can never squeeze in time to make something healthy. But maybe you're a busy mom with a lot of mouths to feed and you can't afford to have it regularly. But I personally know moms that use these meal kit services for special occasions where it can be delivered for a special treat for those special occasions. Another great time to treat yourself is if you've just had a baby. You can tell I'm kind of in the baby mode right now. But when you have a baby and you need a lot of rest and you're recuperating, then is the perfect time to get meal delivery service to your door. Just kick back. It's not a whole lot of prep work. Everything is done for you from shopping to prepping, and you just need to quickly throw it together. And another really good idea is to gift it for someone else. Maybe you know someone that's going through a really difficult time. Maybe they are having health issues or whatever the case may be. It would definitely be a cheer to their day and take a weight off their shoulders. So I do have a great deal for you if you want to try out Green Chef. You can use my code MennoniteMom130 to get $130 off plus free shipping on your first box. Go to greenchef.com for more details, and I hope you enjoy this as much as I do. Quick taste test. Absolutely divine. I'm out in my mudroom, and this is our upright freezer. I did the same concept with big bins that you pull out. I've been loving it. Basically, this freezer is sort of my in-between freezer. We have 2 deep freezes. I know, I'll get to the point of why we have so many freezers for like 3 people, right? And they're more for long-term storage. That way you're not constantly going in and out of them for the most part. And then we'll bring food from that and put it in here. And this is more what I access daily for all my cooking needs. So right now it's kind of bare. I have bins for vegetables, which we go through a lot, and I try to stockpile. I need to run again and get some more and stockpile up on that. It's on my bucket list for this week to get that and a lot of seafood. I need more fish and that type of thing. Since our fish from Alaska has run out, we need more. And I love my salmon and fish, and it's so healthy. So I have a bin for green beans because it's like our staple vegetable that we raise here in our own garden. I have a bin for corn. We do some corn. It's more of a starchy, high-calorie food, so we don't have to do it a whole lot, but for special occasions and for recipes, that type of thing. I have 2 bins for vegetables because vegetables are staples here for our meals. I have a bin for fruit, which also needs stockpiling on. We use this for smoothies and just various toppings. Then we also have a bin for seafood. I like to have a few bags of shrimp, salmon, different types of fish. So good for last-minute meals and so healthy as well. And then I have a larger bin for chicken because we go through a lot of chicken. Another bin for like roasts and steaks. Then I also have a smaller bin for ground beef. And then I have an empty space for like ice cream and various things like that. I think I covered all the bins. And then the side doors just kind of fills up with random things like breads or random like leftovers, that type of thing. So yeah, now let me show you the other 2 and why we have so many freezers. Welcome to our storage room. It's kind of a big mess out here, but it's where we store things. We have 2 deep freezers. So before we take a tour of those, why do we have so many freezers? I basically never buy beef at the store. My father raises beef for a living. He has ever since I can remember pretty much. And so often my family will split like a whole cow. And so we might get a quarter, we might get a half, depending how much we need. And it's so much more inexpensive than buying at the store. Anyway, this has come in so handy, but you can imagine how large a cow is and how much meat that gives. And when you get it back, I mean, you need almost half of or even a whole small chest deep freezer just to store that meat. And that meat will last us maybe a year and a half, 2 years, depending how much we get. And then also, if you go hunting, we don't hunt a whole lot. Nolan doesn't hunt a whole lot. But last year he did go wild boar hunting, wild pig hunting, and he got a pig. And so we got that one butchered, and we have some pork as well. And we'd like to do more of that. It's actually a dream of ours to start having our own pigs, just raising them. That'll give chores for Xander. And then we'll also have more meat for the freezer. Also, if you go hunting for deer, Nolan didn't go this year, but my one brother's family hunts and hunts and hunts, and they have a lot of children, and they had way too much meat, so they gave us one of their deer, and we got most of that turned into bologna, which is so good. And it's such a good, quick thing to get out when you have guests or company or you want a snack. And so you can imagine how quickly meats will fill up freezers. Also, one of my other videos, people were commenting, how can 3 people need so much food? And it is a lot. And different people were saying, well, they've found if they have too much stuff in their freezer, everything goes to waste. And I would agree with that for the most part. However, for us, I was kind of shocked at the amount of times people eat out a week. That's the average for the American. I don't know if it was like 2 or 3 times or more a week. Can't imagine how expensive that gets. So basically most of our food is cooked at home. And the things I have learned, the things that you put in your freezer are only what you need. Like, it's so tempting to look at these quick meals, these quick microwave meals or whatever, all these little doodads, and then you bring it home and you completely forget it's in your freezer, and then it just goes to waste. I have learned what I use over the years, and you just rotate through all that. Nothing really goes to waste. I mean, it shouldn't. Also, another thing within our culture is we tend to have more events. We have church potlucks. People come over, we go to other people's places, we take food. And so it's not just us we're feeding. We want to make sure we have enough to, you know, on hand. I will show you our small deep freeze first. It's really, really messy. I didn't organize it well, and this is what I hate about deep freezers. Like, you don't know what's on the bottom. You have to dig, your hands get cold. And I hate that system. I still have to go through and organize it all. But having said that, when we got our other big, larger deep freeze for some of all this meat we were getting in, try to organize. I had a better organizing system that I just love, and once I have some time I want to do it to my smaller freezer. Let me just show you my small freeze. So the majority of this freezer is meats from our cow, and we had also done a ton of corn the other year, and so there's boxes of frozen corn on the bottom. I don't know if you caught a glimpse of that. And then you'll see all the frozen tomatoes on the top. They're all tomatoes from my garden last year, and I still have not got to canning tomato juice, and I have got to do that before the baby comes. So there is a lot of tomatoes that still need canned. You can actually do that. You can throw tomatoes in the freezer, and then when you're not so busy in the winter, I'm not sure why it hasn't happened yet, you can get them all out, thaw them, and can them. But let me show you our larger freezer here and what I did. Ta-da! Let's see. I wanted to find the perfect size bins, which is actually harder than it seems. Obviously, with using containers, sorry I'm so breathless. I can hardly talk these days. Anyway, obviously when you use types of containers, you're giving up some space in your freezer for organization, but I think that's okay because you're so much more efficient. I did go to Walmart and I found these trays that fit perfectly almost both ways. It filled up the whole freezer. But they obviously just went into each other. And I found a little hack on YouTube where someone had just taken little pieces of wood on each side of the container and screwed it in, making a little lip so the top one could sit on top of the bottom one. And while it's a little bit not the perfect thing, it can kind of slip anyway, it definitely works well so that if you need to get to the bottom of the freezer, you just pick the top one up and get to the bottom. So let me just show you quickly what I have gotten. So in the bottom I have 2 containers that have chicken. One is chicken thighs, one is chicken breast. I'm trying to do it more as well when I go to town. You get a little bit extra here and there, and I had also bought one of those vacuum sealing machines, which is so handy. It preserves your food for so much longer. I just vacuum seal up small amounts that I think will be about perfect for a meal, and I throw it in here for long-term storage. We had made some meadow tea, and these are like big chunks. I haven't been using them as much as I should, but you can make amazing meadow tea drinks. And so I had piled another one full of those. I have another bin that's full of like frozen strawberries that we had done ourselves a few years back. They really do need to get eaten here soon. And then in the top bins with the trays that came with this freezer, I have it full of, they're not completely organized, but I had gotten a whole bunch of peas from the store. That's something I buy. And more blueberries. We go through a lot of frozen blueberries. Another tray has a bunch of sausages that came from Nolan's pig. This tray right here is full of deer bologna, and it is so, so handy to come out and get for a snack like I mentioned before. We have a friend that makes scrapple that is so, so good. And we ordered some from that, and so we have a few pounds. I'm not quite sure how many are in there anymore. We had more of scrapple. We love scrapple. Try not to eat it too much because it's not on my keto style diet, but it is pretty healthy. And then I also have frozen applesauce on the other side of the container. I did a bunch of applesauce this year, but I also wanted to freeze some because there's something so good about frozen crunchy applesauce. And last of all, in this container, I have butter. And this is something I don't normally buy, but there was a big sale going on at Aldi for organic butter. It was starting to get close to the expiration date, I believe. It was like down below the normal price of regular butter, like $2 something. Such a good deal for butter in general, plus it's organic butter. I just bought like a whole, I think I got what was left. It was like a case and a half or something. And this has come in so handy. It's these little things that you have on hand. You suddenly run out and you're not desperate for your next recipe. You just quick run out to the freezer, grab another pound of butter, and you're all set. Welcome to our old farmhouse basement, storage cellar, whatever it's called. I am so breathless, I can hardly talk. So down here, this is where I keep my canned goods. Now, I'm not an avid canner. There's some things I would love to can, but it just takes so much time. And there's some things that I actually don't mind buying from the store. I think they even taste somewhat better than homemade. So this year I did a bunch of applesauce, but prior to doing applesauce, I had been buying at Aldi. I really like Aldi's applesauce. It's an unsweetened applesauce, and it's kind of most times it's the thicker kind, which I prefer. Anyway, and so I have been stockpiling on that because applesauce is something that Xander just loves. With the baby coming on, it's something to feed them. So I wanted to have a lot of that on hand. So I have a fair amount of applesauce. Next up is a lot of pickles. And you would think when I was canning them that I was pregnant and craving pickles, but I don't think I was. Anyway, I canned them with like a stevia. I have like sweet dill and also bread and butter. I really liked how the bread and butter turned out. I think I went a little too sweet with the dill, not quite as dilly as I wish, but I still really enjoy them. So I have like a whole shelf full of pickles. It's such a nice side dish, especially when you're doing like keto. You want that crunch, you want a little bit of extra flavor to your meat or whatever. And then lastly, I did peaches, another favorite of my son's, another great thing to feed a baby. So that's pretty much all the canning I did. I still have to do the tomatoes, like I said before, because we go through a lot of tomato juice. Alright, and then moving over to this side, this is kind of some of the extra foods that I store up. This is more what I call my prep pantry, and this is what I really enjoy. Like, just buy big bags of rice. If you guys go through a lot of rice, we do occasionally, especially for Nolan and Xander. As a side. Once again, that machine that I had bought for vacuum sealing, you could get like this suction thing that goes down over jars and vacuum seals jars. And I was doing that with different things like rice and also rolled oats. There's so many things you can use oats for, and it's a staple, has a long shelf life. And so I did quite a few jars of that. It's something I might do more of in the future, but I don't want just too much. I'm not trying to stock up for 10 years, you know. But it is nice to have a fair amount on hand. It is a staple. It's something that has shelf life and you can use it for so many different things. I also kind of make a habit of buying various canned goods, like even soups. Although I want to can some more of my own, I just can't reach around to everything. That's a quick, easy meal. Sometimes I'll just grab that for supper if I'm running behind. And once again, it's another type of food that has long shelf life. Beans are another good staple. Beans are so cheap. And I like to get the organic beans at Aldi, and they make such good side dishes too. You can fry them up, you can put them in so many different types of dishes. So that was some of the canned goods I've been buying. And as you can see, it used to be stocked to the front, and we are going through them, so I need to like rotate, add more in the back, you know, just kind of try to keep it full. I also got a lot of spaghetti because it's my son's favorite meal. We might have it, I don't know, a few times a month anyway, and it's so quick and easy. And once again, spaghetti has a long shelf life and it's very inexpensive, so we stocked up on some of that. Just recently grabbed a few other essentials like yeast. I don't make a lot of bread and floured stuff, but I did want to have some on hand, and also baking powder. Just a few extras like that I have down here. If I run out upstairs, come down here and grab it. And then know to go and replenish this down here later. I have a shelf for tomato products. There's some homemade canned salsa that my mom had done for me, bless her heart. And then I had also been stocking up last year on salsa. Salsa goes with so many good things. Chips and dip, all types of things. And then also your like diced tomatoes and green chilies. If you're familiar with Trim Healthy Mama, a lot of their recipes call for this type of base. So I have a lot of those, a lot of tomato paste. And then there's a space there where I need to start putting my own homemade tomato juice. Meats is another good thing to stock up on. It's so easy to just can your own chicken, and it gives it a long shelf life. It's nice to come down and have a ready cooked meat. You can quickly reheat it with some rice or beans or something like that, if that's on your diet. Or for me, I can just eat it cold over a salad. Really good. I need to do more of those as well. But I have also stocked up on other canned meats like tuna, sardines. You want to make sure you're not just doing it all for prepping and get stuff that you never eat and you hate. I made that mistake with corned beef. I got a whole bunch. I'd never tasted it before. I thought it looked good, and I don't really care for it, so I have like a whole row of it. But hey, it's there in case we ever need it, I guess. Xander loves his peanut butter jelly. I got a whole bunch of peanut butter, probably got a little bit too much because peanut butter doesn't have nearly as long as a shelf life, but we do really go through it. And then I got a whole bunch of jam, and that's just something I like to keep on hand as well. I could make my own, but to me it's just so convenient. Tastes really good, stuff you get at Aldi. And so I just been stockpiling jam. That's been so handy. Instead of like, oh shoot, we're out of jam, I can't make you a peanut butter jelly till I go to the store. I just have a whole stockpile down here, just run down, grab it, and we're good to go. And then I have a shelf that's more for just your condiments. I have like 4 cans of coffee because we love coffee. And I shop at BJ's, which is sort of like a Costco or a Sam's Club. We love chock full of nuts, and they have it in the big containers, which is like 9 something for like a big thing like this. Whereas at Walmart, they don't carry it anymore, but before, like for a smaller one, it was like 11 or 12. So good deal. I like to stock up on that. So handy once again, when you run out of coffee, you just come down and grab another one. A few other things, just various condiments like hot sauce, mustard, olive oil, coconut oil. I have some baking soda down there, honey, maple syrup, not just tons of each, but a few of each kind of these types of condiments. I also have a fair amount of chicken broth, bone broth, beef broth that I picked up, so good for soups. I just recently went shopping, so I got a few things of Tide for laundry soap. And over on the other shelf, underneath all my canned goods, I do have some things like freezer bags, like your gallons, and also your quarts. I have some saran wrap and tin foil. It's just all the things that most of this I use regularly, and so it's something you just come down, you continue to use, and then you're like, you know what, I need to go back and stock up on this stuff again and try to just keep a nice amount on hand. I missed a few other things. Obviously there's some things in here I missed that you might see on the videos, like however many gallons of vinegar. I go through that a lot, mostly for cleaning. I have some other cleaning supplies, like some dish detergent and that type of thing. Have some extra like toilet paper. I found out quickly when you just couldn't find toilet paper anywhere and you were feeling a little desperate, it's not like you have to have it, but it sure is nice to have around. So that kind of wraps up my pantry freezer tour. I hope you enjoyed it and it didn't bore you too much. Thanks for being here. If you liked the video, it really helps us out if you give us a thumbs up and a comment down below for the algorithm. I try to read most of my comments and give it a heart, but I also try to put my family first and not always be on my computer, but I love reading your comments. So anyway, thanks for being here. We'll see you guys next time.